Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about the Oculus Rift. The Oculus Rift was released in 2016. It had two controllers and two sensors. The recommended graphics card when using the Oculus Rift would be an NVIDIA GTX 1060, and for AMD would be a Radeon RX 480 or greater. The processor, an Intel i5 will do just fine, and for AMD, Ryzen 5. Now, remember that the Oculus Rift uh, was released with just one sensor, and it didn't have two controllers. It was in future releases when this version was released. Now, why do we need two sensors? This is very important because these two sensors make it possible so that we can not only track the headset but also track the two controllers. This way we can move around, well, kind a little bit, not a lot, but we can kind of move around, and just as our headset is being tracked, our controllers that in some way simulate our hands are being tracked as well. So this helps a lot with immersion because you it feels more real when you are in virtual reality. For example, when using the controllers, you have not only the trigger button, but you also have a button that is called the grip button. So this grip button is a button that is used a lot when trying to grab objects inside the virtual reality space. So it is a big leap between having an Oculus Rift with no controllers to an Oculus Rift with controllers. And for example, when using the controllers, you can point. The controllers detect when you are pointing or when you are grabbing something. Um, and it's actually a pretty nice thing to have. As I was saying, there are other versions for the Oculus Rift where you only had one sensor. What this means is that with one sensor, you are not capable of tracking a controller. You can only track the headset. Of course, it is something very important to be able to track the headset, because if you remember the dev kit one of the that was like the first versions of the Oculus, the VR headset, uh, it didn't track the position of the headset. So if you were moving sideways, or if you were a taller person, or if you would crouch, the headset would not understand that. It would stay still. It only detected your rotation. So it is a lot of difference when being capable of tracking the headset or not being able to track it. So with this sensor, you were able, the Oculus Rift was able to track the headset, uh, but it had the limitation that you couldn't track controllers. So this is very important. You can use the Oculus Rift with one sensor, but remember that you won't be able to track the controllers. So if you want to track not only the headset but the controllers as well, remember to always set up the two sensors. Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how to unbox the Oculus Rift. So the first step is make sure that you put the box on a flat surface to avoid any accidents, and then you're going to slightly push carefully the inner box, the black box, and let's do this carefully. Okay,
So once you've done this, as you can see, the black box has this plastic handle, and so you can rotate the box so that the plastic handle is facing you, and you will open it from that side. And okay, we will have the Oculus right here. And as you can see, here's the VR headset. Here's the here's are the controllers, and you have two sensors, right? And as you can see, I have these batteries here. That's because these batteries go in our controllers. I have them outside to avoid that the batteries leak. So it is important that once you finish using the controllers that you take out the batteries. Okay, to grab the sensor, simply pull them out. As you can see, it has these plastic sort of belts. Simply untie them, and you can take the sensors. And finally, as you can see, the VR headset is placed. Okay. As you can see, the VR headset has this long cable, so you can simply grab the cable and you're all ready to go. So let's see how we can plug in our VR. Okay, so first we're going to connect the VR headset. Now, the VR headset has these two connections, one 3.0 USB and an HDMI. Now, it is important since in order for to have your monitor and your Oculus Rift connected simultaneously, you must make sure that your graphics card has two entrances for HDMI. If it's not the case, you can always buy an adapter so that you can connect the HDMI and your monitor, your Oculus Rift and your monitor simultaneously. For example, I have an HDMI adapter so that I could connect the HDMI directly to my graphics card. It's the other way around. So I have connected the Oculus HDMI to the HDMI port, and then the 3.0 USB to the 3.0 USB port. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to connect is going to be the sensors. Now, depending on what you want to do, I think that the Oculus software will only ask you for a minimum of 3 connections. That's the Oculus Rift and one sensor, at least one sensor. But if you want to use the controller tracking, you must use the both sensors. So in that case, you will have to connect both sensors. So this is pretty easy. It's actually a 3.0 USB connection. So simply look for the 3.0 port. There you go. That's one sensor. And the same thing will be for the other sensor. Let's see, I think it's down here. There we go. Okay, now we've successfully connected our VR headset and the two sensors. So that will be everything for this video.
Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to configure the Oculus Rift in order for you to use it inside of Unity. Now, the first step is going to be to download the Oculus app for your computer. Simply search in Google Oculus Rift app and select and go into oculus.com. Once you're here, you will see that there are various options, but for this time I'm interested in the Oculus Rift software. Once you click download the software, you can see that it will download the Oculus setup. Since I've already installed it, it will tell me so. And as you can see, and I will not go through the installation process because it's pretty straightforward. So uh, it's not important that I include it inside of this tutorial video. For now, I'm going to go ahead and open the Oculus app. So once you finish installing the Oculus software, you will have the following app. Uh, as you can see, now once you've installed successfully your Oculus Rift to your computer, the Oculus application will automatically detect that you have connected an Oculus Rift and will guide you through the configuration process. Now, the Oculus app does this pretty good, and I don't think that it's worth it to include it as well in this video. So um, I won't include that setup process, but as I was saying, it's pretty straightforward. Once you've finished configuring your Oculus and set up your play space, we can head back into Unity. Now, let me go into the necessary steps to configure your Unity scene. Now, the first thing that you have to do is download the Oculus integration package. Now, this can be done by going into the asset store, and remember that the asset store is now online, so I will click in search online, and actually I will search for Oculus, and I will select the Oculus integration. As you can see, it already since I've already downloaded it, it tells me to open it in Unity. So if I press open in Unity, yes, open in Unity, it will open the package manager and it will show me here the Oculus integration. As I was saying, I've already imported it into my scene. If it's the first time that you are using the Oculus integration, you might need to download it first and then import it. Once you've finished importing your Oculus integration package, you will have the following folder here, Oculus. Now, head over into your Oculus folder and search for the avatar folder and then content folder and finally prefabs. And here you can see that you have the local avatar. What you will be doing is simply dragging into the scene. I will delete this one because I already have the local avatar, but let me delete this. So yes, we're going to drag the local avatar into our scene. I will reset the position to 0, 0 and make sure that you have the start with controller option enabled. So I'm going to enable that. This is so just like the option tells us that when we hit play, we can start with our hand with the controls visible in the play space. And then I'm going to head back into the assets folder. I will head back into Oculus. I will search for VR. Then I will go into prefabs and I will drag into the scene the OVR camera rig. Now it's important that I set the OVR camera rig and the local avatar at the same position. Now, I will leave them on purpose on a different position so that you can see what happens when they are in different positions. Okay, once we are done with that, uh, let's go into the build settings and then player settings. Now, it is very important that no, sorry. before going to the build projects player settings, let's make sure that inside the package manager um, that we have, let's see, in the Unity registry, that we have the Oculus XR plugin installed. So if you don't have it, simply uh, click in install. And now, now that we have that, let's jump back to build settings, then player settings, and search for the XR plugin management. As you can see, the XR plugin management will give us some options, and this time make sure that the Oculus is enabled, option is enabled. Okay, let's close this. Let me make sure that I have... Okay, another thing that it's important, once you have the Oculus XR plugin installed, make sure that you have the XR plugin management installed as well. So now, once you have those two plugins installed, uh, make sure that in player settings, in the XR plugin management, that you have the Oculus option enabled. Okay, sorry for that. Once you have those steps ready, we can close this window, close the build setting window, then head back into our scene. And once we have our prefabs here, the OVR camera rig and the local avatar, let's hit play and see if our Oculus Rift is working properly. As you can see, if I move my VR headset, you can see that it's actually working inside of Unity. It can happen that if it's the first time that you are using your Oculus Rift inside of Unity, that when you put the headset on, a message will appear telling you that uh, in this case the Unity project you're trying to test is an unknown source. Now the Oculus Rift by default, I mean the Oculus software by default will block any unknown source that will try to access the Oculus Rift. In order to enable unknown sources, to work with unknown sources, sorry, let's head over into the Oculus software, go into settings, and then into general, and make sure that the unknown sources is enabled. This will let, as it says here, allow apps that have not been reviewed by Oculus to run. In this case, it's our Unity projects will be unknown sources, so let's enable it. And that way, you will be able to visualize whatever you are working with Unity while in play, on play, sorry. I will close this window. Yes, I was going to close it. And okay, so my headset is working, and let me see if my controllers are working properly. As you can see, in my Unity scene, they appear, but in my play window, I can't seem to find them. Now, this is what I was telling you before, that you need to make sure that the local avatar and the OVR camera rig are at the same position, because if they are in a different position, you won't be able to see your controller. As you can see, they are all the way over there. I'm moving my controller, but they will be of no use all the way there. So let's fix that real quickly. And I'm going to, local avatar is at 0, 0, so I'm going to do the same thing with my, sorry, with my OVR camera rig. 0, 0, and 0. Okay, so now if we hit play, my controller should appear correctly. Let's give it a moment. Nice, so here is my right hand controller. My left hand controller is over there because I have it on my desk, but if I leave my right hand controller and I get my left hand controller, you can see that it's properly located. Okay, so with this configuration process, you are all set to start developing with the Oculus Rift inside of Unity. Now, one more thing, if we go back into our web browser, if you have questions about the Oculus input, you can search for Oculus Rift Unity inputs, and Unity has a documentation for the inputs of the Oculus. And if you head all the way here, you will see that the Oculus Rift controllers are already mapped so that they can work in Unity. Simply check this table and it will tell you the equivalent inputs for the Oculus Rift inside of Unity. It's a pretty useful tool, and well, now that will be everything for this video. I hope that it helped, and I will see you on the next video.
Now, something that's important, in case your battery runs out of your controller, you can always change it. If you look at this side of your controller, you will see this small icon. So simply slightly press this part and pull. As you can see, it has moved. Now this lid has some magnets. So if I release it, it will go back into place. So simply slightly press, then pull, and you can grab it. So here it is, and simply put the battery in, and you can slide the lid back on. You see. Now to put back the Oculus Rift inside the package, remember that I will place first the headset, but in order to put the headset here, I must first put the cable here. So let me do that first. It's a pretty long cable, so you have to be a little bit patient. So simply start putting the cable like this. Make sure that it's not that tight, because it can damage the cable. So be careful with that. Okay, almost done. Okay, we're almost getting to the headset. One more turn. Oh. Okay, I think that's enough. We can, as you can see, these plastic handles, we have to be careful so that the Oculus fits perfectly into them. Okay, I think we're ready with the headset. Now the next thing are the sensors. Simply turn the cable like this. The same thing. Don't do it so tightly. Just slightly. Okay. Now remember to untie this. Oh, make sure that the camera is facing upwards. And make sure that when you put the cable around the sensor, that it's not too thick so that it can fit here. this. Okay. And then the other sensor, this is the same thing. Just be careful with this. These are pretty long cables, but I promise you that they are this long for a reason. So I know it can be kind of hard to put them away, but while you're using these sensors and the headset, you will be thankful that they are this long. Okay, so let's open this. Let's put the sensor. Let's make sure that this is correctly tight. Okay, now let's close the box. And we will put the white box. Make sure that the white box matches where the plastic handle is. So in this case, I think it will be this way. Seems like the lid is not closing correctly. I think that it can be because of the Oculus. Okay, let's try once again, see if it closes. Okay, seems like it's pretty close now. Now let's was having some trouble closing that, but okay, we have it in there, and we have the plastic handle there, so we can carry the box.